Hillary Tamar. I'm the designer of Kalina Strada, and this is my GFA Designer Challenge. So my name's Hillary Tamar. I'm the head designer of Kalina Strada. It's been my brand. I started in 2009. As a designer, I really try to keep my soul intact in a way that when we're creating a product, there's a reason why we create the product and that has some type of sustainability or some type of craftsmanship that I feel is necessary in the market.
My name is Jenny Fredriksdotter. I'm the Circular Business Manager in Renewcell. Our fashion industry has a huge challenge to tackle all our problems. We need to invest and build much more facilities for taking care of textile waste. Today, less than 1% of the textiles are going back to textiles again, so the need for investment and innovation in this area is endless. There are many challenges for the textile industry to change. Adapting to new material is always a challenge, and it also often has a price tag. We try to create a product where you don't have to compromise on the quality. You can still make the similar product as you did before, and the hand feel and look of the garments or textiles will not change. So designers and also the consumers will find a product that they are already familiar with. It's not a new product, but it's made from a new, better raw material.
Our designer challenge for this piece was to reimagine what a handbag looks like not using leather. So essentially, I teamed up with Circulose, which was great because everything they make is, from literally garbage. So basically, we're just trying to solve what that looks like and to make it out of waste.
I think now in our cooperation with Kalina Strada, we can show that sustainable fashion can be fun and playful and creative, to show that sustainability and creativity goes hand in hand.
I'm really honored to be part of the GFA Designer Challenge. I love getting to speak about sustainability and having open-ended discussions about how to have better brands and how to speak to your customer and how to have a social impact and how to care about change and making real change in the industry. And I think making real change in the industry is why I'm here. I just love getting people excited about anything that has to do with making better products for the planet.
The GFA Designer Challenge is one of the most influential initiatives in the industry, I think. And it's a way to show to the world that Circulose can go into fantastic products.
So I approached designing this bag with the Circulose material that we were using is like a denim, and I just wanted it to feel as Kalina Strada as possible, which means lots of prints, lots of color. So I used one of my favorite prints called the chrysanthemum print. So basically I recolorized that 6 times to create this effect of patchwork in this way that feels fun but still fluid and connecting. It's just a bag that I've always wanted to design that I haven't been able to yet because we haven't found the right material, so it kind of all came together in this beautiful way.
Circulose are the first player to come into scale. I think scale is very important to be able to make material that can go into the normal collections. We need to change at scale to have more sustainable material going into the normal collections. That's the key. We want them to be able to work as normal as possible to replace the material and make it easy for brands and designers to make a more sustainable choice.
The beauty about sustainability is you can make anything better if you want to.
Yeah. Krishna, yeah. Yes, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your break, and thank you for staying with us for the last few sessions. hopefully we can keep the energy up till the end. I'm Alice Taylor, Chief of Staff and Head of Comms at GFA, and really excited about this session because last week we were thrilled to launch a new online film series, Fashion Redressed. This is presented by GFA and produced by BBC StoryWorks Commercial Productions. And the series really intends to inspire the fashion industry to take action to transform the way we produce and consume fashion. As we all know, the green hushing movement is intensifying, and we hope that this series will really help to encourage open knowledge sharing. Different stories can drive impact in different ways across the global fashion community, and we must continue these dialogues to drive us forward. So the series features 12 films that showcase a range of participants from retailers to brands to manufacturers, and they feature a collection of human-centric stories that depict tailor-made solutions for us and our planet. And before we dive into the panel, we're really pleased to share an introductory video which features Federico Marchioni, CEO of GFA, and kind of shares highlights from some of the films from the series.
Fashion is art, is life. The way to tell stories of communities.
What we wear is something that ties us to our people and to our ancestors. It has a spirit to it.
Fashion is a powerful engine to express our identity.
I've been a pre-loved champion for as long as I can remember. You get that sense of individuality, which is really important to me.
We all love fashion.
I think you're going to be wearing this next.
But there has never been more of a spotlight in the industry. It is one of the most resource-intensive industry in the world, and we need to change that.
Currently, dyeing garments and fabrics uses trillions of liters of water.
We're essentially poisoning all the water we can drink.
I almost feel guilty about making new clothes in the world, that there are already so many.
Fashion is finding new ways to change. We're seeing collaboration and innovation across all industry, adopting more respectful work environments and living wages, as well as embracing circularity.
Using natural dyeing techniques like microorganisms, we can make a tremendous difference to the ecosystem at large.
Our mission is to bring the beauty of nature into textiles, and nature knows no waste.
The fashion industry needs to reduce its negative impact to align with the 1.5-degree goal set by 2050. It's not only a question to setting targets. We need to walk the talk and meet those targets.
Current trends in fashion is that increased consumption leads to increased destruction of the environment. We've got to break that trend.
I have a one-in, one-out policy.
I encourage all of you to slow down, buy less, but buy better.
So it starts from the root, actually, right?
Yeah.
The industry has an opportunity to reimagine and innovate the entire value chain.
The big thing for me is the idea of appropriation. It's just a reminder of the things that were taken.
The more that we are doing that work to listen and learn and share resources, the better we'll all be.
I am an optimist.
For a while on the dance floor.
The industry can be positively serving the people and protecting the planet. Combating climate change is an opportunity that we all need to embrace. There is no other way.
So that was a nice overview of the series, and really pleased to introduce our panel today. So maybe I'll just hand over to each of you to briefly introduce yourselves.
Hi, yes, so my name is Gemma Jennings. I'm Global Director of Programme Partnerships at BBC StoryWorks. And really the work of BBC StoryWorks is to look deeper into some of the issues that are shaping society and tell the stories of individuals and organisations who are really leading change in the sector. I'm delighted to be here. I made the move from London a year ago and now call this fabulous city my home. So I'm thrilled that you've welcomed us all here to Boston.
I'm Lehi Thunder Voice Eagle. I'm from Navajo Nation. I am Edgewater through my mother's clan, and then born for Totonac through my father's clan. I am the founder of Thunder Voice Hat Co. And yeah, that's me.
Hello everyone, my name is Krishna Manda. I lead global sustainability for the Lenzing group. You are wearing some of the clothes that made of our fibers. We will talk about more of that later.
Thanks to you all. So I'd like to start with some framing of the series. And Gemma, if we could start with you and just if you could tell us more about your experience of creating this series and why did you and the BBC team decide that now was the time for this project and this global storytelling?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say a thank you to the GFA for welcoming me here and also for your support with the series. It's been a total joy to create, and I think what we've really enjoyed about the series is the breadth of vibrant characters that we've been able to meet and the individuals that are doing really interesting and fascinating work. In terms of the why now, I think it's pretty clear that we're an inflection point, not just within the fashion industry, but in global industry, and not just consumers, but brands have really woken up to the fact that we need to do better. And I think it's fair to say that the why has been internalized, but what we're still grappling with is the how, and how do we close that intention-action gap. And I think particularly in the fashion industry, we have seen a bit of a fear of owning solutions for fear of being accused of greenwashing. And actually, if we're not owning solutions, then we're also not facilitating meaningful progress. And so actually, that's quite a similar challenge to the one that we are facing as broadcasters. So a Reuters report that was released this year says that 72% of broadcasters are concerned about news avoidance and concerned about the impact that reporting on climate change is happening to their audiences. So at the BBC, I think we've seen it as our responsibility to not to avoid the news and certainly not to kind of promote green hushing, but actually to do better with our stories and create stories that not only explain the issues better, but are able to give hope and are solutions focused. And there is a consensus that is how we are going to promote meaningful change. And I think that there is a wealth of stories from this industry that are capable of bridging that gap between intention and action. And that's what we've hoped to achieve with the series.
Yeah, I mean, really appreciate, I think as it's come up throughout the day, is that bravery sentiment and willingness to talk about solutions openly.
And to build empathy, which I think is really important. And stories enable us to tell a complex story, and this is, you know, a complex set of issues. There is nuance to it, but it also enables us to look ahead to doing better.
Yeah. So zooming in on one of the stories itself, and who's carrying the messages for us, Lehi, your involvement in this project is very much about reclaiming your culture and showcasing it to the world. Why do you think storytelling is important for your connection with the planet, and how does that link to the action on protecting it as well?
That's a really good question. I feel like the situation we find ourselves in is really the solution will be found with including more communities than currently we have at the table. And I've been able to sit and listen to some of the panels and some of the discussions and realizing that we're looking forward in the future at innovation and creating innovation. And I think what it brings is the past into it. where, for example, native communities have been making textiles, they've been spinning wool and making cotton in a way that was in harmony with Mother Earth. And so also tying in that piece of it, of what we've done in the past as well, and bringing that to a greater stage where we can talk about what that looks like for the future. Because we don't have that many years where we weren't tied to the earth as a native community. And then on top of that, I think it helps to humanize the native community as well. I know places that I go, a lot of people ask me like, you're native? I thought they were gone, you know? And so different things that I've heard where realizing that our voice has been suppressed in some ways, and sometimes not intentionally, but because we have become so little, it's been hard for us to make it to places like this.
Yeah, really appreciate that, and I think it's just so important to make sure that we try our hardest to include all communities in this conversation and as we move forward. Krishna, within the series, Lenzing is showcased as a great solution. And can you tell us a little bit more about the sustainability work and why storytelling and education is an important part of scaling your impact?
Sure, thank you. I'm actually inspired by Lehi's story. Backstage, he was sharing, this hat is for me, it's all about connection. That's wonderful. I think that inspired me also to think about our fibers also have a story. I just want all of you to close your eyes and imagine that you are wearing a dress made of wood. You can imagine the dress blocks or chips, whatever it is, and try to sit with that dress. It's a two-piece dress. Is it itching, aching? Can you sleep with that? Now open your eyes. I think it might be hurting you, right, if you are just wrapping the wood around. However, the shirt I am wearing actually made of wood-based fiber. It's 40% wood-based fiber and 40%, the remaining is other fiber. But what is interesting here is that this fiber is made of wood coming from sustainable forest, and then you chop it down into small, small pieces. You cook it, and you remove the pulp or the cellulose from the chemicals, and you can use those chemicals. We actually make pickles, like the cucumber and those, we can also store them. It's acetic acid we can get. And then you use that pulp to mix with another chemical and push it through like shower jet. So through the shower, you are getting the stream of water, like the fiber comes out, right? While you are making this, you can make it close a loop. That is what we do. So there is less water use, less energy use, and less land use because of the efficiency and all those things. Yeah. But also, if you look at if everybody is able to make that way, it depends on what type of ingredient you are using. Is it from sustainable forest? Are you making closed loops, or are you actually releasing the water and waste into the environment? Those kind of things, right? But for the scaling the impact, I would like to think about one other thing. When I wanted to inspire my colleagues, I need to tell them stories, right? Because imagination helps them take bold action. Because the stories can connect their spirit to help them take better actions. So I would like to connect with some of the things that Frederica was talking about, climate change and those, because if we don't turn all these things into the concrete action, I think we are not winning the game, right? So here I would like to share about a story that we wanted to set a science-based target in 2018, 5 years ago. And our leadership team was very feeling insecure, because if you put a science-based target, it needs to be absolute reduction. But we are a company which is growing. They said, it's a dilemma. Can we set this target and still create opportunities for the company or survive the company? So we couldn't actually make progress. And then we went back after a few days, few weeks, we went back to the management. And there is another story we told this time. That story is about the fiber, which I'm using today or wearing today. And this fiber took 25 years to become commercial scale. And our company put 100 engineers, sending them to spinners, knitters, weavers, and dyeing machines, and all those, to get that at a commercial scale after 25 years. What does it tell you? It tells that the company is looking into change and transformation. That's what their identity. The moment you tell this story, they also started to connect who we are. And then they said, okay, maybe we can still make this climate change target, it's ambitious, but probably we can also create actually business opportunities while reducing the impact. So that kind of thing only came when they started to connect their identity as change makers and transformers, right? So with that intention, we have invested around in 6 facilities to become 100% renewable electricity, which is around 300,000 tons of CO2 reduction, which translates into 1.2 billion t-shirts, just to give you a feel, right? And with that, we actually not stop there. We are actually doing more and more things. So what it tells you is that stories have that ability to help you create that impact and scale the impact. Sorry, I took long because my story is technical. I want to get it out. So
yeah, no, thank you for that. And I think through platforms like this series is another way to not just inspire people internally, but also hopefully externally as well. And I think this series beautifully connects the dots between so many different community groups. Lehi, what was it like to adapt to this dialogue and to connect this story globally, given that so many of your own cultural stories have been suppressed?
So what was the question again? Sorry, the first part?
Yeah, so what was it like to adapt to this dialogue and to connect this story on a global stage, I suppose, given that so many of your own cultural stories have been suppressed?
Oh, it was overwhelming, I think, in some ways. I know sometimes, like, wherever I go, I represent a multitude. So I have to take that into consideration, especially storytelling, because I am Dene, which is Navajo, but there are 574 tribes in America. And so I'm only one voice out of all those voices out there. And we're all distinct and different. And I don't think people really understand that. The things that I do and the way that we live our mode of life has similarities, but we also have protocol, which is distinct from other tribes. So the representation and being on to tell that story can sometimes feel like a lot because there's a lot that has been suppressed. I mean, it's, you know, so for me, just to have the opportunity to stand in places where my people haven't been to tell our story is a great honor. And we know that this is the beginning of many things, especially how we're looking in the idea. We talk about decolonization, but we also talk about reharmonization in the way that we used to live in the harmony of interacting between people and Mother Earth. So we're seeing that more now.
Yeah, and I mean, having seen the film, and it's such a beautiful depiction, I think, I'm sure it will inspire many other communities to tell their stories. Gemma, fashion is such a visual language to be celebrated, and how did you incorporate that mood into the series? Like, sustainability has been quite serious, but how did you manage to keep viewers glued and entertained?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. It's unfortunately not enough just to find and tell interesting stories, and I'm sure that the content creators in the room know the challenges all too well. And maybe just to illustrate that point for people who aren't content creators, in 2023, over the course of 1 minute on the internet, 700,000 hours of content were watched on YouTube and 10.4 million minutes on Instagram, and that's just 2 of the platforms that we as broadcasters compete with. But as the BBC, we think it is our job to know audiences and not just to find the stories that are going to capture that immediate attention, but actually keep audiences watching until the credits roll. And so before we embarked on the Fashion Redressed series, we undertook a study of over 200 pieces of content. to see what were the storytelling devices and principles that rang true for those films that were successful in keeping viewers glued. And we found 3 things that were really interesting and we felt lent themselves particularly to the fashion industry in terms of storytelling. The first was having an authentic cast of characters. The second principle was evoking a strong sense of place. And the final principle was having a plausible plot, i.e. taking the audience on a journey and giving those all of those things space to breathe. And I think that the films with my esteemed panelists really summarize how beautifully we were able to do that, particularly, you know, the story with you, where I think the art of that story is in the pacing and the space that you were given to really shine through in that film, as you should. And also, very differently in the film that we did with Lenzing, actually, the framing that evoked that creativity, the nature that inspires. And I think one of the things that I love about that film in particular is actually the sound design, because we really do hear that sense of place when we're in the forests with you as well. So I think those are some of the things that we really tried to reflect. And as I say, the fashion industry really goes hand in hand with those principles themselves.
Yeah, definitely some tips there that we could apply. Krishna, you sit alongside 2 great storytellers, and how, from your perspective, can we use innovation as a medium for positive change with business integrity and values in mind too?
I mean, I was actually reflecting on, in the medieval times, like if you go back five centuries, how the paper is being made, right? So paper actually made from not wood in those days, it was actually made from worn out clothes. So what they were doing is actually downcycling. So textile to textile is really the high quality, but you are downcycling into paper. So, but the recycling concept actually existed in those times as well, right? However, now Lenzing is actually innovating technologies which can use the waste that is created at the garment factories to make the fiber. So fiber is going in to make fiber. And we are actually expanding this ability with innovators and partners to actually recycle used clothes. And we actually have made progress, and we wanted to go from having a 30% recycled content to even 50% recycled content in the next few years. So this is the progress actually we are making on the recycling front. But if you look at how you can actually take it to the next level, so we have a product called Ecovero. The way you define innovation is very important, right? Usually when we talk about innovation, people look for some new attributes and newness and something, it should be new, then only you call it innovation, right? So we have reduced the impact of this fiber by 50% compared to the generic fiber that is available in the world. It's based on life cycle assessment and science behind it. But the thing is, our colleagues didn't accept as innovation. Can you believe why it is? They said there is no functionality, newness, right? It's not a new product. Why should I call it innovation? But half of the population, or even more, were saying that because it is sustainable, it's 50% less emissions and those, but also it can be traceable because we have incorporated the identification technology in it. So within the same company, people have different opinion. How do you define innovation? So I believe strongly sustainability-related attributes are an innovation, right? So without that, we cannot actually scale anything. However, what happened was, after this, we have actually 2 facilities which are actually able to make it. But the 3rd facility is operating in Indonesia, and there the regulations are lax. So you need to invest heavily to get that facility to this. Because of these 2 facilities got success, like they have been selling in the last 5 years like 300,000 tons, which is lot. So we could invest 100 million euros into this facility to bring it to the level of others. So it got European Eco-Label certification, traceability, and all those. So if you haven't defined the innovation in the proper way, you cannot also actually kind of create more impact and scale innovation. So I believe that how you define innovation also helps you to actually take the that story itself, help you to bring that investment into the company. And it took a lot of time, but we are actually very happy that we could actually make progress, and we are reducing emissions to air, water, and even able to sell with a premium and those kind of things.
Yeah, so really storytelling can scale things massively. That's amazing. Gemma, as the urgency of the climate crisis is obviously deepening and it's all around us, where do you see the biggest opportunity or leverage point for storytelling right now?
I think stories have the power to change the way that we look in the world, and they have the power to raise understanding, improve consideration of a topic, and actually build empathy, which I think is the most important thing. So I think my advice, certainly to everyone in this room, would be don't shy away from connecting with your audiences around the big issues. Focus on building that empathy, trust in the power of authentic voices, and work with storytellers to affect the change.
And on that power of authentic voices, I'd actually love to kind of get an update from you on how people have received the series so far. I mean, we launched it last week, so it's been out for a few days. Have you seen much response so far?
Yeah, I'm really delighted with the response. So far we've received about 2 million impressions, 200,000 engagements, and almost 100,000 click-throughs to the website, which is incredibly strong from a conversion rate perspective against both industry and BBC benchmarks. And also a phenomenal number of organic posts using the series hashtag Fashion Redressed, which I do urge you all to explore and engage with yourselves. And importantly, if you have a story to tell, do come and speak with the BBC StoryWorks team, because we want to lead the way in terms of meaningful solutions-focused storytelling in this space, and we need the stories and the characters to do so. So I just want to thank again the GFA team for helping to elevate this partnership, and hope that there's many more stories we can tell.
Yeah, no, we're so happy to be involved, as we really think it's such a perfect collaboration to educate the industry and consumers. Lehi, just a question for you to wrap things up. I guess, where do you see the commonality here with what Gemma said and the appetite for storytelling? Can stories help fashion change its perspective? Looking ahead for multiple generations to come, do you think stories can influence the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that has been, so just a little bit about what I do. We have our brand, we do hats, and we also do apparel coming from a native, from our background. And we have leveraged social media to be a way of getting who we are out there. That only gets us so far, and it only gets our story so far of who we are and what we stand for. So this has been a great opportunity for us to actually reach globally a different stage. And in that, it's been great because in a lot of cases, people come to us wanting to tell our story, but in the sense of they already have something in their mind that they want us to do. And this is one of the first times where we were actually able just to talk. Yeah. And then after the edit, we're able to say, can we make these changes? Because there are certain pieces where our community is directly affected by the visibility, because there's so many different layers to it in the stereotype, tokenization, and understanding of us as humans. Our goal is to not just humanize us, but also to be peers with others around us. And that's a really hard place to be if there is no visibility, because sometimes the only exposure they have to our community is what they see on TV or what they read in books. And we have our own fashion, we have our own way of life, but there's a lot of crossover with other communities, and there's a lot of common things that are there too. And so that was an important piece, is not only talking about how appropriation affects our community and the way that we generate for our families, but also that we are a community of people, and even our differences and what makes us more distinct are also beautiful pieces that can be celebrated, just like in every culture.
Definitely. So storytelling traditions are how we evolve historically as people, and it's been incredible to be part of this project with you all. If you haven't had a chance to have a look at the series yet, please do. You can access it. I think there should be a QR code coming up on the screen. And yeah, it's on fashionredressed.com. Or also all of the videos are available on the Global Fashion Agenda website too. So really encourage you to check it out. But please join me in thanking our great panelists.